Good morning. And we've broken into a brand new tarot card. Small card anyway. For 0 degree to 10 degrees Leo, the Five of Wands. And we've got a couple of wild demons going for us. We've got Beleth and Crocel. And as a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about Goetic spirits and demons and things like that this morning in our letters from Ask Baba Lon. Answers to questions of life and magic. And someone asked me yesterday which tarot cards. Of course, I'm using the Tarot Ceremonial Magic. And this is the brand new Next Millennium edition. And it's available on Amazon and things like that. But you can also get it directly and most effectively from Magical Omaha. So just Google Magical Omaha and tarot cards and you'll find this. That being said, and the plug over. What am I saying? The plug is never over. I'm turning now to, hang on, I lost my place as I was pitching my tarot cards there. Okay, as promised, that light is just too bright. Shouldn't I be nice to the Goetic spirits so that they won't be mad at me and try to hurt me? That's the heading. Dear Baba Lon, hello, I recently read your fascinating and enlightening book, The Key to Solomon's Key. I told you the plug wasn't over. Since then, it has become recommended reading. And maybe someday I'll read The Key to Solomon's Key, too. It's one of my favorite books. It's Constance's favorite book. I have some questions about Goetia. Now, Goetia, I pronounce it Goetia. I don't know. I don't know why. I just started calling it Goetia, and it's spelled Goetia, Goetia. So excuse me if I pronounce it Goetia, but you pronounce it any way you want. I have questions about Goetia and magic because I have consciously made the decision to perform an operation once I have gained more information and study. I don't possess the tools, so to speak, at this point. Are there alternatives that you may recommend if one does not have all the tools necessary for a successful operation? I don't possess, Also, I was wondering what may be the outcome for summoning a spirit without a triangle? If that spirit was approached respectfully and on a conscious level. What I mean is, can the operation be performed in the mind alone with success? I've read some writers who disagree with your method in the sense that the spirits should not be commanded to do things for you. You advocate, at least by my interpretation, a take charge of the spirit's attitude by the conjurer. Elsewhere, I've read, admittedly online at this point, you should approach them in a diplomatic, friendly, accommodating manner. If you approach them in a demanding way, they will resist and be more likely to try to harm the conjurer. Any info would be much appreciated. Thank you for your time. Name withheld. Dear name withheld. I wouldn't worry about fancy tools. I would, however, not omit the use of the circle and a triangle. at least in magical operations that incorporate the Solomonic formulae. Of course, you're certainly free to experiment to your heart's content, especially if experimentation is the object of your operation. Simply put, however, if there is no circle and no triangle, there is no Solomonic formula. You'll be doing another kind of magic. And doing other kinds of magic is great. Indeed, I believe that true magicians must develop their own techniques based on their own understanding of things. I guess everyone has their own idea of what Goetic spirits are. There are lots of other kinds of spirits that I work with without evoking them into a triangle. There are lots of other kinds of spirits I don't command. I only use the triangle with the Goetic spirits because my current understanding, accurate or not, of the formulae of this particular magical art form, I only command those spirits who need someone to command them. Spirits who are, by nature and tradition, infernal in nature. These are blind forces that, when harnessed, controlled, and directed, enthusiastically do all the constructive heavy lifting in the universe. But when unharnessed, uncontrolled, and undirected, they destroy things, including bodies, minds, marriages, careers, life, and self-respect. And they do it with the same enthusiastic fierceness and zeal. These are forces I must master in order to master their mirror natures in myself. Unrecognized, these spirits manifest in my life as problems, obstacles, and enemies. I only resort to Goetic evocation when I have a problem that needs to be solved, an obstacle that needs to be overcome, that is hindering my great work, a spirit enemy that needs to be defeated. And in those cases, it is the demon that is my problem. It is the demon that is my obstacle. It is the demon that is my enemy. As such, as Levi sings, these devils by my might to angels I will change. On them must I impose my will, the law of light. Once I have a Goetic spirit successfully mastered and in my employ, I arrange from then on to evoke it without a circle and triangle. As long as it remains loyal, I treat it with utmost respect, courtesy, and love. As my initiatory level rises, I, in turn, raise its level. At least, that is my Solomonic magic worldview, and one I use when I operate Goetic evocation. Perhaps your experiments will prompt you to look at things differently. In any case, I wish you good luck. I've got to go to bed now. My best, Baba Lon. And the second letter today. Is it wise to evoke angels or demons for financial help? This is an excellent and poignant letter. Hi, Babylon. I've been a fan ever since I bought your first books and tarot, which I came across by chance on Amazon. I must admit I'm not much of a magician. My interest has always been in the psychology of change. I've never seriously attempted the angel and demon stuff, since the illustrations in your illustrated Goetia scared the shit out of me. Those are David Wilson or S. Jason Black's illustrations. Some of these guys look curiously familiar. But then, this is a strange neighborhood. However, my life at 63 is more demanding than ever. My wife died by her own hand 5 years ago, leaving me twin sons to bring up, 21 years old. I cared for my wife till her death, which meant we lived off of savings, and now I'm broke. I have a new partner and intend picking up my former career as a commercial artist, but need money to set the lads up. Both were emotionally damaged by their mother's death and have had problems with drugs and the law. I want to set them up in their own place. I have another son, 31, who is schizophrenic and in and out of the hospital. My partner and I intend to move south and spend our last years working in our own studio. The only thing that stops us is the lack of money. My question is, would it be wise to ask the angels or demons for help? I've always believed it was wrong to try to use magic for personal gain, but unless I get some real money, my life is going to be entirely useless and pointless. It feels like there's something preventing me from achieving my desires. I would appreciate any advice you could toss my way. Best wishes, name withheld. Hi, name withheld. Unless you feel particularly undeserving of success, I see no reason not to apply your magical efforts toward enriching your life and improving your financial material situation. The fact is, whether you recognize it or not, you are already applying your magical efforts toward those ends. At the moment, however, you're just not doing it very well. That being said, you may be unknowingly working your magic more successfully in other areas of your life, areas that are perhaps just as or even more important than money. It sounds like you've been through some rough times and are still having to deal with some serious challenges. As I'm sure I don't have to tell you, suicide, drugs, cops, and schizophrenia are in-your-face demons in anybody's book. They are in your life because your dharma or your karma or whatever you want to call the reasons for your present existence has put them there. Dealing with these very real demons for one's family and oneself is as magically heroic as any formal Goetic evocation, and certainly renders your life anything but pointless and useless. If I were to offer any advice based on the few words you've written me, I would counsel you to first make sure the spiritual forces that are already in your life are securely in the triangle and are reasonably under control. Then, determine what you really want. Do you want money? Or do you want the happiness and satisfaction that you think the money will bring to your life? If it's the latter, then work your magic to achieve that. Why evoke a demon for cash if what you really want and need to invoke is a muse to charge your golden years with artistic ecstasy? I'm sure this is not the kind of advice you wanted, but it's the middle of the night and I get preachy. I sincerely wish you the very best of luck. My best, Baba Lon. So, I'm trying to decide whether to do one more thing, and I think I will for today. When the Goetic magician forgets a promise. Dear Baba Lon, first of all, let me thank you once more for the great opportunity to visit your classes. They're really interesting. Your books were always important in my personal library, and it's a great opportunity to meet you in person. I'd now like to discuss with you some Goetic experience. I was just starting my Goetic practice 3 years ago. I made a black mirror, circle, and other stuff, which Poke Runyon described in his book. I spent several months mastering Tratakam and auto-hypnosis. That time I was evoking Orobos. I decided to ask him to give me new career opportunities. During the evocation, I can usually get the spirit's image, but I often lose audio contact. I'm working on this problem now. I had the same situation that day. Therefore, after his coming, which I could see in the mirror, I requested of him to provide me with a new career opportunities and promised to make his sigil on the metal plate, which will last forever, as you describe in your Goetic book. I gave him a license to depart and closed the temple. The result of that evocation was very strong. 5 to 6 days later, I got a series of phone calls from companies that wanted to hire me on very good conditions. I eventually accepted one of those offers. What happened after that? I was so busy with the new position that I postponed paying Orobos by making his metal sigil. I delayed payment for at least 8 to 9 months, which I now see was really stupid from my side. One day I began to see really strange things happening around me. Initially I had bad dreams that night. During the day, when I was walking near electrical poles, 5 to 8 crows were literally chasing me, flying from one pole to another and cawing loudly all the time. During the day, I noticed some strange conflicts appearing from nowhere. So clearly there was something wrong happening. And after my returning home, I decided to perform the banishing ritual of the pentagram. I just started to do the Kabbalistic cross when I touched the 4th point saying Ve Gedula. I was shocked by the loud sound of an explosion just over my head, originating at the point where we usually place Kether during the middle pillar exercise. The sound was very loud and dry, as if someone was sharply tearing an old, thick, dry canvas. I was shocked initially, but several minutes later, I managed to perform the ritual of the pentagram and repeated it several times in every room of my apartment with no sounds that time. The next weekend, I made a metal sigil of Orobos and left it in the forest. The next days after that, I began to see signs of strong sympathy from people who initially had strange, unexpected conflicts with me for no reason. Several weeks after that, I made a second sigil of Ouroboros and again dropped it in the forest. Although I don't have direct proof that these phenomena were caused by Ouroboros, I have a strong feeling that it was the work of him or his familiars. It seems I made him upset by delaying payment for so long. What do you think about that? Do you know similar cases of harassment when people were delaying payment to a Goetic entity for doing their work? Several months later, I was evoking Ouroboros again. We had reorganization of our company, and I asked him for protection and a positive outcome. During that evocation, I had a picture, but lost hearing of him, so I closed the temple. That same night, I had a dream. A human person who looked like a photo negative, black face on white background, came to my dream and calmed me down, giving me information about positive outcomes for me after all the chaos of the reorganization. In that case again, I had a strong feeling that it was either Ouroboros or his familiars. It's interesting that he looked like Belial in your Goetia book. So, no horse features, but like a person in a photo negative. What do you think about that? In your Goetia book, you mentioned that results brought by Goetic demons often have a typical demonic infernal hue. In my case, I had it too. Ouroboros did what I asked, but the result had such negative aspects, and at some point, all that stuff became unacceptable for me. It's quite interesting how they work. And now I'm working on auto-hypnosis and tratakam techniques to improve my hearing abilities, since I sometimes lose audio contact with them while still having visual contact. Sorry this has been such a long letter, but I would be very interested in your comments about these events. I'm sure you have very extensive Goetic experience. Thank you very much. Name withheld. Dear Hi, name withheld. It was nice meeting you last Monday, and I hope you can make it to class more often. Your Goetic experiences are very interesting and for the most part characteristic of this kind of operation. When you charge a spirit to do something for you and you promise it something, if it succeeds, you are in a sense writing that contract with yourself on a paper of your subconscious mind. Of course, that's going to eat at you if you don't uphold your end of the deal, and eventually that attracts unwanted energies and forces around you. The fact that unpleasant or infernal phenomena accompany the fulfillment of your request indicates that your request was initially not well thought out, or it was stated in a way that was not entirely compatible with your own best interests. That's why it's so important to take great pains to formulate in your mind what it is you really want from the operation. I'm reminded of the time my friend David P. Wilson, or S. Jason Black, evoked Payaman for the purpose of securing a particular job with a talent agency in Hollywood. He sacrificed a rat to Payaman. Now, I totally disagree with all of his techniques in doing this, but it's an interesting story. He sacrificed a rat to Payaman and used the blood to sign a most breathtakingly beautiful hand-painted document, a pact with the spirit. The pact stipulated that if David got the job, he would make Payaman an offering of blood each month on the anniversary of the evocation. David got the job, which was a bit more stressful than he had imagined. Each day he came home exhausted, his nerves completely shot. Needless to say, he forgot to make the monthly sacrifices at the end of 90 days, admitted, and at the end of 90 days, admitted to himself into the hospital emergency room with abdominal pains. The doctor told him he had a bleeding ulcer. Don't be too concerned if your spirit doesn't neatly match descriptions you've read in the book. It's been my experience that a successfully evoked spirit may look much different than how they're described in books by other magicians. Even the characters and moods of the spirits vary dramatically. My Ouroboros can be a sweetheart, and yours might eat you alive. It appears that you have a natural talent for this kind of magic. If used wisely, it can be an important tool in your quest for enlightenment. I wouldn't, however, think it should be anyone's only tool. Babylon. Okay, that's it for today. And let's peek ahead and see what tomorrow is. Preparation for a magical Goetic evocation. Okay, it's Thursday. I've got to pull on different clothes and take St. Constance to the health food store for our weekly adventure in mask and glove land. I hope you're enjoying these sessions. I am. And to everyone that was part of our wonderful Kabbalah initiation last night on Zoom, we're working on a Facebook website for the group, and if we're working out the kinks to get everybody on that too. So it's been a busy week and a busy month for me. So until tomorrow, be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. Bye.